Welcome to this lecture on the basics of neuroscience. Today, we are going to explore one of the most fascinating phenomena in human biology, the placebo effect. We will discover how your brain's expectations can actually trigger real, measurable physical healing, turning a simple belief into powerful medicine. Let us dive in. To begin our journey, let us imagine a scenario. You have a terrible headache, and a friend hands you a painkiller. You swallow it, and within 10 minutes, you feel completely fine. But then, you find out your friend accidentally gave you a breath mint. How did a simple mint cure your headache when it contains absolutely no active medicine? This is not magic. It is a very real, measurable biological process happening inside your brain. Your mere expectation of relief triggered your body to heal itself. Now that we have seen an intuitive example, let us define this formally. In neuroscience, the placebo effect is defined as a genuine psychobiological response to a simulated medical intervention. It is driven primarily by the patient's conscious expectations and their prior unconscious conditioning. It is crucial to understand that the placebo effect is not just a fake feeling or an illusion in the mind. It is a highly measurable physical change in the nervous system that actively alters how the body processes signals, such as pain. Understanding the definition leads us to ask, how does this actually happen in the brain? When a patient believes they are receiving treatment, specific neural circuits engage. The prefrontal cortex, which handles our conscious expectations, sends signals down to the periaqueductal gray area of the brainstem. This specific pathway triggers the release of endogenous opioids and dopamine. These are the brain's natural pain-relieving and reward chemicals. By releasing these chemicals, the nervous system actively blocks pain signals from ever reaching the brain, providing genuine relief. Let us visualize this mechanism with a diagram. Here, you are looking at a cross-section of the human brain. Notice the prefrontal cortex, highlighted in blue at the front. This is where your conscious belief that you are being treated originates. Follow the arrow labeled expectation signal down to the green area in the brainstem, known as the periaqueductal gray. From there, you can see the pathway extending down the spinal cord. This represents the release of endogenous opioids, which create a blockade against incoming pain signals. Having seen the physical pathways, we must consider why this matters in the real world. Understanding the placebo effect is absolutely critical in modern medicine, especially during drug development. Whenever scientists test a new medication, they must compare it against a placebo. This ensures that the drug's chemical ingredients are actually doing the work, rather than just the patient's hope and belief in the pill. Furthermore, studying this effect allows researchers to develop therapies that harness the brain's own healing power, reducing reliance on synthetic drugs. This brings us to how we mathematically represent these treatment effects. The formula on screen shows that any clinical improvement is a combination of two factors. E total represents the overall healing observed in the patient. This equals E active, which is the specific physiological effect caused by the actual chemical ingredients of the drug, plus E placebo, which is the improvement triggered purely by the patient's belief. If a doctor is highly reassuring, the placebo variable increases, which in turn increases the total effect, even if the drug dose remains exactly the same. Before we move on, let us see this with a concrete example from a clinical trial. We are given that patients taking a real drug report a total pain reduction of 60%. Meanwhile, patients taking a fake sugar pill report a 25% reduction. We need to find the actual chemical efficacy. We start with our total effect formula and substitute 60 for the total effect and 25 for the placebo effect. By subtracting 25 from 60, we find that the active chemical effect is 35%. This means the drug's chemistry is responsible for 35% of the relief, while the brain's belief system provided the rest. Now that we have used this formula, let us formally prove how we isolate the active effect. We start with our foundational equation, where total effect equals active effect plus placebo effect. To find the true chemical effect, we must mathematically separate the mind's influence. We do this by subtracting the placebo effect from both sides of the equation. This cancels out the placebo term on the right, leaving us with the active effect isolated. This simple but crucial derivation is the standard procedure for all modern clinical trials, ensuring we can always quantify exactly how much work the drug's molecules are doing. So we have proven how to isolate the placebo effect. This brings us to a deeper question. What exactly drives the placebo effect itself? Neurobiologists break it down into two main drivers. The first is conscious expectation, which is your active belief that a treatment will work, mediated by the prefrontal cortex. The second is unconscious classical conditioning. This is driven by deeper brain structures, like the amygdala, based on your past experiences and habits, such as feeling better simply because you walked into a hospital. Both pathways work together to generate relief. This conceptual breakdown leads us to our second formula, which models the placebo effect directly. The formula states that the placebo effect equals alpha times X plus beta times C. Here, X represents the patient's conscious expectation score, and C represents their unconscious conditioning score. The symbols alpha and beta are simply weighting constants. They determine how much expectation and conditioning contribute to a specific situation. If a patient has high expectation but no prior conditioning, the alpha X portion will dominate the equation, showing us exactly which brain pathway is doing the most work. Let us apply this model to a specific patient. We are given a conscious expectation score of 8 and an unconscious conditioning score of 4. The respective weights are 2.5 and 1.5. We want to predict the total placebo effect. We take our formula and substitute these values. Multiplying them out, we see the prefrontal cortex contributes 20 units of effect, while the deeper conditioning circuits contribute 6 units. Adding these together gives a final predicted placebo score of 26. This tells the doctor that conscious belief is currently the strongest driver of this patient's natural healing. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us summarize the key takeaways. First, the placebo effect proves the brain can alter the body's physiology based purely on belief and context. Second, this happens physically when the prefrontal cortex triggers the release of endogenous opioids to block pain. Third, any medical treatment is a combination of the drug's active chemistry and the placebo effect. Finally, this natural healing is driven by both conscious expectation and unconscious conditioning. You now have a solid understanding of the neurobiology behind the placebo effect.